Hello and welcome to the official SuperCoach AFL podcast. Footy is almost here, opening round just hours away. Of course, we have a little bit more time to get our SuperCoach teams set. First bounce of Richmond v Carlton is the first lockout of the SuperCoach season. A huge episode today because I am talking to the man who won SuperCoach in 2025, Blake Moscript. Congratulations again on your victory. Thanks for jumping on the show, and how are you feeling heading into a new season as the reigning champion?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Al. It's pretty exciting, obviously, to get back into footy, and feels a lot different this year. A bit more expectations, and bit of a target on my back with some of my mates. So it's a lot different, but can't wait to get started.
Before we get into some more maybe pointed questions on some players who we like and don't like and some of the strategy, just how do you approach the preseason? I guess, how did you approach it last year, which led to some very good things, and are you trying to replicate that again, or is it a bit different with that, as you say, with that target on your back?
I think I'm just trying to sort of replicate most of what I did last year. I sort of had a bit of a look back at my starting team, which I think Dossie and Phantom had a look back and they weren't sort of overly impressed. And I think I wasn't too impressed with it either, to be honest. But there was a few things I really noticed, and I guess one of them was the lack of opening round players I had in there. So I've sort of gone back to my team this year and trying to cut back on some of those players and avoid the early bye. Just trying to sort of replicate what worked for me last year and some of the things that didn't work, some of the probably a few too many mid-prices that didn't really turn out. So, just picking and choosing what did and didn't work.
On those buys, I mean, there's a little bit of a different situation this year. I think roughly this time 12 months ago, we had a hurricane in Queensland which cancelled one of the games. So there was only, I think, 2 opening round games. So there were only 4 teams with the early bye. This year we've got 10. How hard is that to try and dodge around?
Yeah, it's pretty tough, especially like some of the players you really want to have in the side, whether it's Bont or Daicos. They're all sort of playing in that opening round. So just trying to figure out who really are the most important guys to have and who you can sort of look to try and bring in later in the year. That's sort of it's been a bit tricky, but I've certainly, as the preseason's gone on, I've been trying to avoid some of those early buys, especially I think it's round 3 where you have sort of some pretty popular players all playing in that bye round. Just trying to work my way around that as much as possible.
And how closely have you watched we've had some practice games, and then the Amy series is now done. How many of those games did you watch, and how much does that go into your planning? I know Jaden Short put up another big score. He's a bit of a pre-season special, and he made it into your starting team last year, but we go in there again?
I might skip that one this time. There was a few of those sort of 400,000 around that sort of price range that I tried last year and didn't work out. So certainly trying to stick to a bit more of the guns and rookies approach, with a few exceptions, as there sort of always is.
One of the big topics that is certainly occupying my mind in the lead-in to round 1 is what to do in the ruck department. We've got a bunch of new rules which we're not 100% sure how they'll impact some of our most expensive players and best scorers from last year. Obviously, the evidence maybe is a little bit concerning on a couple of them, but we've only had a couple of games to go off. So how much are you reading into that? What are you thinking? Do we pay up there? We've obviously got a very cheap ruck option now who's emerged in Lockie McAndrew at the Crows, only 119K, but I think I would definitely be picking him. I still haven't really worked out. Does he start on field? Is one of my rucks? Is he on the bench? Is he flex potentially? Can you help me out here? What are you thinking?
I think I'm struggling just as much as you are, to be honest. Hopefully we see a bit more after the opening round, but it really seems like there's half a dozen rucks that you can choose. I sort of like having McAndrew in the flex. I think there's no sort of clear Gawn, Grundy sort of like we've had in the past. So, it makes it interesting. And, it's good to see like quite a bit of variance there. I can't see too many teams sort of sticking with the exact same setup. So, at the moment, I've been changing quite a bit through the preseason. So I think for now I've got Luke Jackson and Cherry, but it could be completely different by the time round one comes around.
Yeah, Cherry obviously was a bit of a hero for you last year. I think you brought him in with just a couple of rounds to go and he put up some absolute monster scores to finish the season and help get you over the line for that overall number one ranking. So do you have a bit of loyalty there, or he's the one that I am pretty nervous about? Some of those practice games, he didn't look crash hot, especially in the centre bounces, but yeah, it's hard to know how much of that is going to influence his overall score. There's obviously still plenty of other stuff he can do around the ground, throw-ins and those kinds of things. And his run to start the season is pretty juicy for a ruck point of view. So you're keeping the faith with him at this stage?
I think so. Yeah, the schedule that he has, especially that first couple of months, is it's pretty handy. And even just throughout the whole year, he has like probably the best matchups for the ruckman. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 5 to 10 point drop off from what he averaged last year. But yeah, I think looking at the other rucks, I wouldn't be surprised if they all sort of lost a few points here and there as well. So yeah, I think I'm probably just going to look at the schedule with him and put my trust in him again, and hopefully he can deliver.
And, of course, no early buy, which is handy for the Kangaroos, obviously, as well. Just looking at some of the ownership numbers in SuperCoach, there's some players which are extremely highly owned. You've got the likes of Nazai Wanganeen-Miller, Nick Daicos, Connor Rosie, Sheasel, Flanders, Butters, all over 50%. Have you locking all those guys in, or is there a case to fade any of them?
I've got quite a few of them. Again, it's just trying not to overdo those early buys. But, yeah, certainly Naz. I've got Daicos at this stage. But yeah, it's tough. You can't quite fit them all in. Maybe if you do go McAndrew in that R2 spot, then you can squeeze maybe an extra one or two in there. But yeah, it's quite tricky knowing who to go and who not to. So yeah, just having a bit of a look through the buys and seeing which ones sort of best suit your team, your structure.
I did take Naz out of my team for a little while and it lasted not very long. I had to get him straight back in after his performance the other day in the practice match. I mean, we think he's going to play midfield, maybe go more forward this year. So, not so much of the easy ball off half-back, but we know what an impact he can have. But he's very expensive. He does have a buy. Is he someone you just have to start, do you think?
I don't know if you have to start him, but as you said, we saw it in that preseason game and I've seen it for quite a while now. So I do have him in my team at the moment. Even if he does spend a bit more time forward, I'm sort of thinking that those mid-forward goal-kicking mids, I think with the game sort of opening up a bit, well, that's sort of what they're hoping will happen with some of the rule changes. So, I think that should suit that style of player. And yeah, he really is a bit of a class above at St Kilda. So, yeah, I've got him at the moment, but I can understand why some people might sort of look elsewhere, but yeah, I think the ceiling's sort of too good to miss out on.
Yeah, I think, as you say, wherever he plays, the Saints just want to get the ball in his hands, and maybe if he gets a little bit more attention, they just stick him down the goal square, and he's shown that he can kick goals down there, so yeah, can score wherever he plays. You mentioned mid-prices, and you maybe not going too hard on those, but there's a couple, Haydn Young, Darcy Parish are in a lot of teams. Have you got those guys, and which other ones are you considering in that, sort of 300 to maybe 500K price bracket?
Yeah, I had them both locked in, Parish and Young. There's a bit of talk now about Young going for some scans, so I'm not quite sure. I guess we'll have to see when it comes to round one what the go is there, but I did have those two. And that's really it. There's a lot of talk of sort of Blackerson, Windsor and these types. But I've generally tried to steer clear from those. There's one guy I've sort of been looking at from Richmond, but I don't know, that's a bit risky as well. So yeah, I think like the safest and the easiest pick is just sort of Parish and Young. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of value in some of those players. It just depends what your risk tolerance is.
I mean, what's the reasoning for avoiding them? Just because, if they don't work out, it's sort of you're sort of stuck and hard to get out of that situation, or you just don't want to have too many injury-prone guys. What's the thinking there?
With Young and Parish, or sort of the Windsor,
or avoiding all the rest.
Yeah, I think. I just think quite often you can see these sort of pre-season breakouts, and it seems to happen every year. There's a few of these. And then once the season starts, maybe their role sort of changes. And then, you are kind of stuck with a bit of an awkwardly priced player that you have to either upgrade or downgrade, and you kind of start to burn through trades a little bit. So, if you sort of feel pretty confident in their role, that's when it starts to become pretty tempting. But without having seen it previously, I'm not quite sure if I want to be going there. But yeah.
And Blackiston doesn't tempt you, as the ruck seems a little bit more of a lucrative role. I suppose we don't know exactly how long he'll have it until Nick Bryan comes back. I think he's listed as TBC on the Essendon injury list, which just came out. So people who are picking him are hoping that he gets 6 games, maybe enough to make some decent coin. But have you thought about him at all? He's sort of nearly 300k in the back line, which is a bit of a tricky spot.
Yeah, he is one that I've sort of has been in and out of my side. He looked quite good in his practice match. I think at the moment he's out of my team. But yeah, I could see if you sort of have confidence that he's going to keep that number 1 ruck spot, there is a lot of value there. It's just whether you can afford to sort of pivot off it if it doesn't work out. So yeah, I think going for sort of 1 or 2 of those players is okay, but I think when you get stuck with sort of 3 to 4 of those kind of mid prices, if they all don't work out, then you're sort of really in a tough spot.
What about, is Kitty Coleman, do you count him as one of those, or he's almost an expensive rookie at just 230 odd K, but has he been part of your plans?
Yeah, again, he's sort of been in and out. I didn't like it when he was sort of being spoken of as a bit more half forward, but it sounds like he's going to be sort of locked in more to that half back role. So, I think if you've got the sort of money to spend on, I guess that high end rookie type, then we sort of know what his scoring potential is. So yeah, he's certainly someone that I'm looking at. I think he plays opening round, so we get to have a bit of a look at him there. So yeah, I think if he does have that half back role, I get a feeling he'll probably be in my round 1 side.
Yeah, one of the benefits of opening round, getting to have a close look at guys like him. I'm keen to talk about some of the rookies, but you did hint there that there's a Richmond player you're considering, so that definitely piqued my interest. Can you give anything more away there?
Sam Lawler. So I just think if he's going to be running through the midfield and hopefully kick a goal or 2 a game, we sort of know how good he's going to be, or hopefully he's going to be. So it might be a year or 2 early. That's sort of the problem, and he's got a bit of an injury history. But out of those mid prices, I bagged for Richmond, so he's sort of one I want to bag for and want to have in my side doing well. So, but yeah, I know that's as risky as any of them. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually encouraged a bit by his performance the other day, and obviously it was a bit of a weird practice game cut short by lightning against the Demons, but I thought he was, he did some really nice things in the centre. Does have a great role there, had more centre clearances than certainly any other Richmond player, but I didn't think he dominated at all, and he still scored, in the 80s in SuperCoach. So if you could get that from him every week with a few big games along the way, where he really pops off, that would certainly be enough to make us plenty of cash. So I'm definitely tempted. But as you say, a bit of Richmond bias coming in for me as well there. When we talk about rookies, I guess first question is, we talk about Kitty as a bit of an expensive rookie. Do you have any hard and fast rule on starting, paying 200k for a Willem Dersma or 199 for a Zeke Ewell? Are you happy to do that? And even, Sam Grill at Richmond's 170. Are you fine paying that much money for rookies, or do you try and find cheaper guys if they're available, which is obviously a big question mark? But do you have a philosophy on that before we even go into the individual players involved? Yeah,
I tend to look for the cheaper rookies. There's been a few exceptions, especially the last few years. I know Levi Ashcroft and sort of things like that. So the last few years you've been able to pay up. I'm just not sure if this year the top sort of expensive rookies, if they quite have the scoring for the ceiling to be worth starting them. So I'm probably not looking at Ewland and Dersma at this stage. Yeah, trying to find those guys sort of in that 100, below 150 sort of thousand range. But yeah, again, it's more to do with the role, and I'm just not really sure if any of those sort of really expensive rookies quite have that role.
What about as a Tiger fan? Do you like Sam Grill? Seems to be on that half back line. There's a couple of other guys there, though, I guess, with a Jaden Short or a Sam Banks when the full team is available. But he has looked pretty exciting in the preseason. I think he will be a fun one to barrack for certainly for Richmond supporters, but potentially for SuperCoach as well. But again, at a slightly elevated price. Does that put you off?
Yeah, ideally it'd be a little bit cheaper, but he is in my side at the moment. I thought he looked really good in that practice match, and he sort of moved well and playing off that back line, which the Bulls probably going to spend a lot of time there this year. So I do like the looks of Grills at the moment. Yeah.
And we talk about rookies dictating structure in terms of the overall team. What's your thoughts on the overall picture? It seems like down back there's quite a few good options. There seems to be quite a few up forward as well. It's always a bit tricky knowing how they'll score, but plenty of names to choose from. But maybe the midfield's looking a fair bit thinner as I look at it, trying to struggle to actually fill out my bench. But how do you see that? And does that affect? Do you want to try and only have one or two at most rookies on field in the midfield, that kind of thing? I'm even looking at Dyson Sharp. Is he someone you'd probably prefer to have on the bench rather than having to play him on the field? I think he'll have a good good job security, etc. But I'm not sure about what his scoring will be. But what are your thoughts on the overall rookie picture this year?
Yeah, I definitely think the defenders and the forwards. I think there's a bit more to choose from there. So just looking at my team, I've also just got the two midfield rookies starting. So yeah, I think you can probably go a little bit lighter with your premiums in the forward line, and especially the forward line, because I'm not really sure how the top six is going to look. So yeah, at this stage, I'm definitely a bit lighter on for midfield rookies. But yeah, a lot will change once we get sort of teams announced for round one. At this stage, we don't really know, outside of a couple of guys that have been sort of told they'll debut. We don't really know how they'll look. So yeah, I think before we get to round one, the teams, our SuperCoach teams, will still be changing quite a bit, in particular those rookies. Yeah,
it's always a fun hour or so every year when the teams drop on the Thursday night, and you've got the Richmond Carlton game starting about an hour after that. So always fun to try and glean exactly who's in and who's out and who's on extended benches and all that kind of thing. But anyway, we can worry about that in a week or so. But interested to hear you talk about the forward line there. So I assume you've locked in a Sheasel and Flanders. Can we tick those off? And then any other sort of top liners after that, or can we start looking for value?
This stage, I've got Cozzy Pickett. Just trying to, again, like I'd probably like to have Petrarca there with some of those early games he has. But just trying to avoid some of those early buys. And I think the upside is really there with Cozzy. But yeah, there's quite a few that obviously Sheasel and Flanders I think most people will have. But yeah, who you go for that sort of second, third premiums, pretty interesting. There's a number of guys. I had Darcy for a lot of the pre-season in my side, and yeah, there's a number you can go for. So yeah, at the moment it's Cozzy Pickett, but yeah, I'm not sure how it's actually going to look next week.
Yeah, fair enough. And did you check the couple of these new 99k rookies in as soon as they were announced, or is that a bit dangerous? Like Tom Blamiers is one who looked really good for the Kangaroos on the weekend. Jack Watkins for Port Adelaide looks like he's pushing for a spot in round one, but it always helps to just save 20k or so by chucking a couple of these 99k on the bench. Wayne Dirksen as well potentially for Carlton, but we have to hope they actually get picked, I guess is the thing.
Yeah, Blamiers, I thought he looked really good. I thought Dirksen looked good, but it sort of sounds like he might not be getting a game. So he did come into my side, but he might be straight out. I think if some of those 99k guys do get picked and look like they have a bit of job security, then yeah, they're sort of worth their weight in gold. But yeah, I'm not too sure. Certainly Blamiers, but not sort of as sold on the other two at this stage.
And we talked about opening round. What does the next sort of week or so look like for you? Do you be I assume watching those games pretty closely? Which players are you looking at who might help you make a call for that final team? We talked about Kadeen Coleman. Are there any others that are sort of on the watch list?
I think the main thing I'll be looking at is what's happening in the ruck. There's also a bit of a Sam Walsh Errol Goulden sort of debate I'm having. I'm not sure if I can fit both of them in or if I have to pick one. So those two will be interesting to watch. But yeah, definitely having a look at the ruckman and just sort of what the scoring looks like and how they're sort of moving around the ground.
Is there any rucks in particular, or more how the rules actually affect? Are there fewer stoppages and these sorts of things? Because obviously we don't get to see a Cherry or a Gorn, but yeah, hopefully we'll have some actual sort of real games, real data to go off that might help us make those decisions with some of those guys.
Yeah, probably just more in general, seeing how they're scoring and where most of their scoring is coming from. English plays, so I wouldn't mind sort of at his price, and he's got a pretty good scoring history, and he could be one that is really suited to a more sort of open, free-flowing game. So he's definitely one that I'm looking at. He's probably one that I would start if he didn't have that bye. So yeah, there's a few there, but I think mainly just getting a feel for how their scoring is actually coming, what sort of areas of the game they are scoring in.
Yeah, English, he looked fantastic the other day, but again, yeah, that round 3 bye is a bit of a killer with the Dogs, and I think Gold Coast and Sydney all on the same week. So yeah, it is a bit of a juggling act to try and fit them all in. Is Tanner Bruhn someone who's been in your thoughts at all during the year? I mean, during the preseason, I guess we hardly saw him until last week, but the role did look good, but going off one game, but we do get another look at him this week if that's a way you could maybe zig and zag in the midfield.
Yeah, he's sort of another one of those in that awkward price where if he can keep that sort of half-back role, and certainly probably will pay off, but yeah, I'm not too sure at the moment. I don't really have any of those sort of 300,000 guys at this stage. But yeah, getting a look at him opening round will certainly help. If he looks to be sort of peeking out in the back line, then I might have to move some things around. Maybe it's a safer pick than Coleman, just with Coleman's injury history. So yeah, they're two I'll certainly be looking out for.
And with the final question on the rucks, we've talked about them a bit, obviously, but at the moment you said you've got McAndrew in at flex, I think. Is that right? And have you entertained him at R2 at all? It sort of opens up another world of possibilities if you've suddenly got another $500K to spend, but is that too risky for you?
Yeah, I'm just not really sure. Like, it looks good when you can kind of stack your midfield, and but yeah, I'm just not sure if he's going to be sort of staying in the team long term, or if they just wanted to have a bit of a look at him. So at the flex, it's a lot easier to move around, and it's certainly a lot more comfortable just sort of sideways into another rookie that you might have missed. So yeah, I think that's the safer pick. But at the same time, if you feel confident that he's going to play all year, having him in that R2 spot, and if you can score an 85 or 90, you're sort of really set up there. And you can look to, maybe go pretty heavy in the midfield where there aren't as many rookies. So yeah, it does open up quite a bit if you are feeling a bit risky.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier, that it's good that, some people will go down that road, some people will go the flex, some people might not pick him at all. But yeah, it does create a bit of variation. There'll be some different looking teams, which is always fun. The one question I wanted to ask to finish off with is we've spent this whole interview and we spend the whole summer panicking and trying to get every single pick right in that starting team. But as you pointed out, last year your starting team included Jaden Short, for example, and a couple of picks that you probably had to get out of there pretty quick. I mean, how important is getting the starting team right to actually, finishing at the top? And what's your strategy for, especially those opening few rounds? Do you trade really hard early, use some boosts to try and, get rookies that you might have missed or correct some of these issues that might happen in your starting team? And yeah, how stressed should we be about, maybe taking one or two risks, or what that team looks like at Thursday night next week?
Yeah, well, I think I was 20,000th after maybe 2 rounds. So yeah, it sort of goes to show that your starting teams, it's not everything. But I definitely did trade pretty aggressively, getting the rookies off that they might have only played a game or two, and moving on to some of the guys that I'd missed. So I was certainly using all my trades and boosts early. So then by the time it got to round sort of 5 or 6, I sort of had the cash flow coming in pretty quickly. But yeah, it's certainly not like panic stations if you miss a few picks early. As I said, I had Jaden Short. I think it was Oliver, Will Day. Like there was a number of those sort of kind of awkwardly priced guys that just didn't work out. So yeah, if you can sort of pivot off those quickly and especially move on from your rookies that might not be getting a game, you can turn your season around really quite quickly.
That's always good to know. I mean, in terms of the broader trade strategy for the season, I think having one in your back pocket late last year turned out to be extremely valuable. Is that something you'll try and do again, or are you happy to just burn through them and set up your season early?
Yeah, it's kind of you kind of got to pick and choose. But I think early season, that's when you can sort of really go pretty aggressively. And then, you can sort of taper off throughout the middle stages of the season. You really just maybe doing one up, one down, or just waiting for that fallen premium. So you do have to pace yourself, but certainly having those 5 boosts, you can sort of be really aggressive in those first few rounds, and especially getting all the rookies that you weren't starting with. If you can get your cash generation up sort of pretty early, you're ahead of the pack.
Yeah, all excellent advice. Thank you so much, Blake, for joining us. Congratulations again. It's been awesome to chat, and we'll be definitely tracking your progress very closely this year. Touch base again, I'm sure, during the year to see how you go, and good luck playing against your mates in those private leagues. We know that's where the real competition is in SuperCoach. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Get those teams in, but of course, we have a little bit more time to tinker. Unlimited trades through to round 1, and then a rolling lockout, of course, through the week until the last game of round 1, when everything will be locked in. But we've got plenty to play out until then. Lots more content coming your way. Reminder, you can jump in and take on me and Patch and Chloe in the official SuperCoach Podcast Open League. The code for that is 407756. Give us a like and subscribe on Coach Sports YouTube if you haven't already. And good luck picking your team. Thanks again, Blake, and good luck for you as well. See if we can go back to back.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers. Thanks.